up, everybody? Welcome. 1:16 a.m. South Florida. Nice, cool night tonight. Not too humid. Got this beautiful waning gibbous on the rise. Amazing shot up at North Mare Imbrium. And then down there at Tycho and Clavius. It's going to be a sharp one tonight. Hopping into this chat room. Start at the top. What's going on, Genghis Khan? What's up, Starlight Spectrum? Super Must See, Frederick Artner, you're most welcome. Eat All Your Fish, what up? Rickanow says, cool, thanks for all your daily posts. Super interesting and reminds me every day how big the universe is and how small we are on Earth. It's pretty awesome. Welcome, nice to see you on the chat. Let me know if you got any questions. Who else we got? Oh, what's up, Bondia? How are you? Light Moon, what's going on? The Moon crew is here. Love it. I got some energy. Go for like an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer. But man, I'm looking forward to that Apennine mountain range up there. If you can see it, it's looking really sharp and particularly glinty at the mountain peaks. I can even see, this is like the widest view, and I can really see Valles Alpes, the cut in the mountain range. Plato crater looking great. Archimedes, Aristillus, and Autolycus. Eratosthenes at the tip of the Apennine mountain range. Of course, Copernicus, Kepler, and Aristarchus. It's gonna be nice, yep. Alright, switching to some new tunes. Grooving today. Alright, so let's try some just wide, quick tour on the zoom. Just scope out where we're gonna get to. Start down here near Clavius. Doing that same cool thing I did the other night where the edge is kind of broken up by the crater walls. So right past Clavius. Oh, where's my atlas? Oh, crashed. Let me reopen this 1 second. Alright, so the ones at the very edge are called, let's see, Newton crater, Short crater, Mauritius crater, Schomburger, and Cassatus. Those are all strewn underneath Clavius along the edge. Now we got Clavius. To the left of Clavius, you got Blancanus. Top right of Clavius, you got Maginus or Maginus. Above that, Proctor, Saussure, Oratonius, Heraclitus, Lycetus, Stoffler. All of them visible. And prominently Tycho. Very recognizable at this point. Zoom in one level further.
If you want life, don't click, don't click.
We'll get back to you, Alan Watts, at some point. Yo, what's happening, somebody somewhere? And let me know if the audio is sounding balanced, or if I'm a little too loud or too quiet. Some very cool sharp corners on this crater. I'll get back to all of these too once we change up the lens, but I'm just gonna keep cruising. What's up, Ellie Wynn and Wingsley and the cats. You have other cats, right, Ellie? And also, happy birthday. Nailed it. Happy birthday to you. It's a dark birthday song. Happy birthday to you, and your feline friends. Oh, happy birthday to you. Thanks, Super Must See, says audio's good. Starlight Spectrum says, I don't mean to get all touchy about the deforestation, however it makes me anxious and wonder how long we have left to observe the gorgeous moon and elements of the solar system. I am devastated. Man, I know I saw some of those reports today, it's really crazy. The Amazon is getting raided by just the craziest types of people who value money over life. But I always try and balance it out and think that, you know, it's just because things are so epic and incredible on Earth. Every time it feels like everything's going well, something tragic has to happen. Isn't that strange? What's going on? More Jello, please. Please, please. More Jello. Plasma is life. What's up, Shockwave? How you doing? Good to see everybody. And awesome energy, birthday vibes to Ellie. Regular for a long time and pretty much sticks around all the way through every stream. You're super nice. So I hope you had a great birthday. Have had and will have more of. Damn, really? Did we get clouds? Is that crazy? Hush, hush clouds. I guess everybody lit up at once. No, it's actually not too bad. It's not too hot. But I don't know, we'll see. As the moon rises, the temperature sometimes changes, so we'll see. What's happening, Sully's Girl 89? I'm doing well. I'm a bit tired today, but I got more energy than last night, that's for sure. Last night I was falling asleep mostly through the stream. Pretty delirious. It's kind of intense in front of the radiation on the monitors and just having 2-3 monitors around you and the cell phone is just crazy, man. Sometimes I feel like my entire mind is just turning into particulate. But today I feel a bit sharper, and the moon showed up and the clouds moved away, so I'm feeling blessed. Yeah, I was trying to get that comet too as well, and it seems like I have just that part of the sky was filled with lightning storms today, the craziest towering white clouds and like daylight lightning. And I was wondering the whole time whether it was due to the comet even, because it was just that part of the sky. Everywhere else was blue. I was like, what the hell's going on? But this massive towering storm in the northeast. So not even a chance to peep through the comet. Even now it's still like not even really visible for me. Oh right, I was reading Starlight Spectrum about how the world is about to end, or feels like it's going to end every day. But I feel like it's one of those things that it's a great reminder to keep death close and to enjoy every moment. It takes some work for sure, but yeah, we'll see how that plays out. You know, at the same time when devastation hits, people rise up stronger against it. So maybe it's one of those things where it's just poking at the greater power, which are the masses who have just had enough of this type of behavior, and it's just another poke at the bear. Chakra said, "I'm screwed. I live in the Great White North, and when the GSM hits, we'll be frozen in place." What's that? Geo solar mass? What's the GSM? It's like Nova or something? GSM, Global Storm Magnetic something. Let's see what's happening. Lots of chats coming up. I scrolled up and then I missed everything. Margello says, so should I sleep with the neighbor when she offers, you know, if the world is going to end? Well, Alan Watts says something great. He says, just when you find out it's all a game, don't give up, you know? That's the whole point, is not to like find out that, oh, it's futile and therefore just give in to everything. Although, you know, if you want to sleep with your neighbor, I can't stop you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it should be due to the end of the world. That should just be, how do you want to end your day? But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like and I heard another great comment today, which was the best way to complain is to create. I love that. I thought that was great. It's very cliched, but grand solar minimum. Thanks, Shockwave. So that's when the sun unleashes its power. It's the game stream media. The fake stream media. What else is happening? Exactly. Flirt with death. Flirt with your neighbor. Somebody somewhere says, I love the Joker talk by Alan, but I've listened to far too many talks without knowing the subject behind them. Yeah, I think I've gotten there too. I've listened to a lot of his talks more than, 20 to 40 times a piece, and I just forget like what the title is or what. It's really, if I just hear him start talking about a topic, then I'll sort of figure out what the next phrases are. It's like those old comedy routines, once you've heard them enough, it's kind of second nature. Anyway, we got some clouds. What can I do? But we definitely got a lot of hexagons on the moon tonight. There's, what do we got? There's a lot. There's Copernicus. There's Posidonius, Katharina, and Theophilus. But we'll have to wait till it clears. I guess it's going through its little phase. Oh, Ellie, I was saying that, the best way to complain is to create. I think it's pretty corny, but it's really true. Anytime you're just like, oh, why that and why that? Just make something better. What's up, Tom? How's it going? I'm just chilling, reading all of your comments, and yeah, I saw Electric Universe Eyes made a hexagon in his video today. I liked it and put it in my playlist. It's great. It's simple proof. It just has to be tied together over and over and over again. Repetition makes it real. That's how the propaganda systems work. They just repeat things everywhere, all over the place, and over and over and over again. They'll tell you, hey, here's a pop star. And you're like, I didn't ask for a pop star. And they're like, no, here's a pop star. And their name is Lil Rodent. And they're like, here's Lil Rodent. Lil Rodent is the top played artist, 100 billion plays. You're like, really? There aren't even 100 billion? Yep, 100 billion plays. Lil Rodent is now superstar. And people are like, no, but I've never heard of this person. Like, who's Lil Rodent? And they're like, no, but Lil Rodent was voted top artist of last year. People are like, wait, I'm not, oh, but I guess Lil Rodent is an artist now. And then a year later, they're like, well, Lil Rodent won 55 Grammys. And they're like, but there aren't even 55 Grammys. Yes, he won 55 Grammys, and now Lil Rodent is like a superstar legend. In fact, his name is Lil Rodent Legend. In case you weren't sure if he was a legend, his name is actually Legend. So Lil Rodent Legend is now the greatest artist of all time. He sold 800 trillion copies of his last record. And then finally, people were like, okay, I guess I can't get away from Lil Rodent Legend, and Lil Rodent Legend is now part of our culture. And if only people who wanted to achieve something for the greater good would see that tactic and use the same method, I think we get places. You know what I mean? But there's something about having an ethical bar or morality that you don't use those types of tactics when you're trying to speak out for the truth or be an activist. You're like, well, I just want to tell people the truth, and like I just want to be honest with people. Like, why would I sell them Lil Rodent Legend? But yep, that's how it goes. Damn. It's all ready for it to be clear, and all we get is some cloudy ass moon. But let's kush. I'll hang out for a bit. Let's see if it clears. So glad I found your tree, drift like wood on the beach. We suffered long and late. Your world is coming apart at the seams. Then I found that policy that cut a real deal between you and me. Then you walk up slowly to me, come up from the sand, and you're carving the leaves to play tricks with my head. I got to set the needed a part of you. All my life and my heart is still aching. Except I needed a part of you. Maybe we'll lose our lives someday, but I got the stars in my heart. No one can take that away. I got the stars in my heart. Set the feeling so far, so fire. 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 Set the feeling so far, go fire. Ate up a shell, swirl of the storm, cause of the night. You are the door. Made up of shells, eye of the storm, cause of the love. You are my light. Made up of shells, magnetic light, claws of the force, gracefully made up of shells. Alright, pretty awesome. Seemed like it cleared again. Let's get a little zoom shot while we got a chance. Crispy little hexagons. So true. So true. Let's get up in Posidonius, which is... Actually, it's not Posidonius, it's Ptolemaeus is the one. Right here. Dead center of the reticle. Look at this hexagon. Come on. Come on. Side by side. Electric universe in action. Let me know what y'all think of this while I get the labels set up for it. Alright, so that's Ptolemaeus, and then underneath it is Alphonsus. I'm just going to get that as well. It's also crazy that they're side by side, you know, it's almost like they potentially grew at the same time. I love it. I want to kind of get the electric discharge in the laboratory videos side by side with one of these clips at some point. I promise I'm going to do it. Alright, so Ptolemaeus, and let's fade that out. And I find it fascinating that it doesn't have a central peak, you know? Very flat floor, almost that glazed thing that we were talking about, that feel. But it has this little craterlet. And that is Ptolemaeus. Whoa, that's called Ammonius, actually, interestingly enough. I'll quickly do this and look at chat, because y'all are giving me such great comments lately. I don't want to miss stuff. Ammonius. What's going on, Nikon P1000? How's it going? Welcome, welcome. Shockwave says, beat the hell out of their videos. Who are you talking about? Although, thank you for the encouragement, if that's what that was. Oh, the Thunderbolts projects beat the hell out of their videos. Sorry, I'm just catching up on things here. A lot going on. Happy Honey says, it's so clear and obvious now. Electric universe in action, clearly. Hell yeah. Sully's Girl says, it would be cool if the centers were solid gold seams. Yeah, that would be amazing. Shockwave says, lol, Chris, they did all of them, they were created in one event. Yes, I know. Thanks for reminding me of all the history. I just sit here and randomly reset a lot of the time, so I appreciate it. But yeah, it's very likely that they were all created at the same time. I do wonder though if like Aristarchus and Copernicus and Kepler were also created at the same time, or whether the moon kind of was fully cratered, almost like what we see on the right, and then even more scarring happened when it interacted with Mars and created the Oceanus Procellarum Basin, that whole whole area to the left. I don't know what you think about that. What's up, Jim Jones? It says one has an innie and one has an outie. Wow, this view. Let's get back in there. I was just checking, I thought it got cloudy for a sec. Let's take a look at Tycho while we have a sec. Center peak, very visible. I think I could Maybe adjust, no, the focus is right, it's just the sky. I'll look at Clavius as well. I feel like it's so finicky, I'm gonna refrain from doing labels for everything, but let me know if you want me to put a label on a certain feature if you didn't hear me say it right. So Clavius with a chain of craters inside it, and those kind of interesting walls that actually form in those electric discharge experiments. Bet you can't eat just one, right? Starlight says, I've been attacked by too many mosquitoes going outside. Oh, I know, man, they're just vicious, vicious. Luckily tonight it's not as hot. Last night there was one mosquito that just drove me crazy the whole time. And then I woke up with tons of bites. Sucked. Sucked. More tunes. Did I already play this one? No. Alright. What did I want to find? Let's see. Let's look at Copernicus. Copernicus is another great example of a hexagon, and the filamentary structure around Copernicus is second to none, probably, on this side of the moon. Yo, what up, Master Watt? Watt. Asked me, have I ever heard of magnifying with Fresnel lenses? Yeah, I've seen a lot of that stuff. I looked into lighthouses, Fresnel lenses, and the usages and effects of Fresnel lenses. But more so, what it does is it can kind of amplify a signal from the sun and turn it into a very, very powerful kind of beam of light to burn a hole in your hand. So it's very dangerous and very powerful in terms of what it can do diffraction-wise. But yeah, it really focuses the beam of light. That's why it's used in lighthouses. And so that's how they amplified these tiny little lanterns. Is that clouds? That's crazy. No, I thought it was an airplane thing. Here, let me adjust this lighting for a second. Alright, here goes the proper zoomage. Le zoomage pour ce soir, c'est ici. Look at this amazing crispness. Yeah, Tom, you know what I mean? I think the Fresnel stuff is to focus the beam of light and is probably used in antiquity as well. I think in terms of using it to magnify, I'm not sure if that really works. Maybe in reverse, but I can't imagine how that would exactly work. And then, especially with the clarity of it, the kind of optimal telescope setup, it seems, is this hexagonal. It's not ironic. It's I guess pertinent to what we're looking at. That they're building the James Webb Telescope in hexagons in like a honeycomb shape, because it seems to be that that's the best way to set up a mirror array for most power is through interlocking or like side-by-side hexagons in a like array pattern. So that should tell you something a little bit. And same thing with the Large Hadron Collider, the tunnel tubes are also large hexagons. Seems to be obviously a powerful form, and in 3D it's really a cube, which is crazy. So look to the top right, we've got another crater that's also a hexagon, and that is, it's so funny how it doesn't look the same. It's called Hipparchus, I want to say, yeah. Alright, so Ptolemaeus is the main one that we're looking at, and then to the top right is Hipparchus, underneath it is Alphonsus and Arzachel. So let's move down and see Alphonsus. Alphonsus, you know, at the top, you know, looks hexagonal, has that kind of house, almost looks like a little Monopoly house. The bottom part kind of looks a bit crushed or destroyed, so you don't get that much definition. But that has a chipped wall, similar to, like, let's keep note of this. This is a chipped sidewall that looks a lot like the chipped wall on Plato crater. And what's fascinating, there's something I noticed that I'm not sure if other people have noticed, but if you look at Google Earth, you'll see that underneath the oceans, the topography of Earth has a ton of like straight lines intersecting, like somebody went at it with an X-Acto blade. And I feel like these kind of, I don't want to say they're sinuous rills because they don't snake and curve, but they're these long, thin threads that you see in front of you. Just feel like there's some sort of correlation between the two. Here's a very interesting feature that is, I think it was once referenced on Thunderbolts. Shockwave, correct me if I'm wrong, but this little chain of craters right here, the tiny little droplet chain. Shockwave says, can I see the rover tracks in the Sea of Tranquility even with higher mag? I can get higher magnification, but I think you might have seen it. It has gunk on the lens. And then you add more glass and you lose detail. This is camera direct to scope, and on the 11, if you do the digital zoom, this seems to me to be the crispest possible view. I think if I bought a new 2x or 2.5x Barlow, I could probably get a better view. It's just those pieces deteriorate. It's crazy, and they get banged up. But I definitely can't see tracks now. I want to say it's like 10 kilometers per pixel, and to see the tracks you need to get like 50,000 meters per pixel or something like that, or less. It's almost impossible. I think if you had like a 20-inch telescope, maybe 21-inch, and a perfect sky, you might be able to see it. I think it's actually one of those. It's not an unseeable thing, but that's just made out to be crazy. Starlight says, I can't take this moon porn. It's all good. Alright, let's try another area. Just because there's so much to see tonight, gotta keep it moving. Let's go to a completely different region and check out Aristarchus, see what's going on there. And I'll set the contrast so we can see it a bit better. Here we go. You got Aristarchus, Herodotus craters, the flat floored crater underneath Aristarchus, Schroeder's Valley, Aristarchus Plateau. And here's some contrast for y'all. Makes it so much better. It's like magic. So crazy. Can you imagine? You have to sit and process this data versus just like affecting it live. So you can see the very amazing electrostatic effect inside Aristarchus crater. You can see the little lines, or I guess kind of, what would you even call them? It's almost like the bottle cap indentations. It almost looks like a bottle cap in a way. Shockwave says, expanding Earth, Chris. When the Earth connected to the Sun, the Earth gained mass and it stretched from the new energy to the plasmoid gained in power. I think I understand that. I mean, the idea of all the continents, this idea of the supercluster of continents being merged all together, they fit sort of together, mostly, and if Earth expanded and stretched out this super Pangea into the continents that we see today, it would make perfect sense. Why not? Very possible. I try and refrain from saying, hell yeah, I agree, super 100%, just because like everything, there's always a possibility that things are different. But yeah, that really makes a lot of sense to me. In terms of things growing and expanding, why not? Why wouldn't Earth and the Moon grow? So let me know what you think of Aristarchus. Before I move on, I'm going to take a quick smoke break for a couple of minutes, and I'll be right back. What song do I want to play though? What about... maybe... I'm just going to pull something from the vaults. Alright, this one. Kepler crater. Just incredible visuals tonight. And this is also one of those features you can see kind of the regolith being pushed outwards from the center in this incredible way, just layering. You see all the depth. Actually, let me zoom out and push that color up like I did. You can really see what's going on inside Mare Imbrium and Oceanus Procularum. You must have got it from that, right? let's actually record too. Yo, peace out. More Jello, please. Have a great one. Yeah, so we got Aristarchus to the left, Kepler in the middle, Copernicus to the right. Actually, inverted is kind of cool too. We can see really the filamentary structure in much more detail. Yeah, look at that. See, I love it. Shockwave is bringing a whole, the ability to kind of talk about certain topics like that I sometimes forget, I'll be honest. Like I watch a lot of the Thunderbolts project videos and a ton of the things that Shockwave is saying I've probably heard or come across a bunch of times, but it's really tough to retain every little piece of that, the Proto-Saturnian history. So it just takes a lot of time to kind of listen and read and watch, and man, it is so much work and it's amazing at the same time. But it's cool that Shockwave is dumping some some stuff that I would say a lot of the things that I would want to pull up and talk about. So thanks for that. And same thing, you know, it's also a grain of salt. You know, we could all be wrong. We could all be perfectly right. It's just all about talking about different things, new things, being open to new ideas and different ways of thinking. Let me know what you think of this view. I'm really enjoying it. It's like crazy to see, almost like how Kepler looks like an eye in a way, has its pareidolia, and the amazing darkness of Aristarchus, almost like a teardrop with its own filamentary, like little, like almost looks like a little neuron. And further than that, you can kind of see the rest pulling from the side and to the left of the moon. You get these track marks, race marks. It's just fascinating. I can't even imagine. Like even if we have a story, it's still so incredible to have this moon that just is there, among everything else, of course, but the moon particularly. Shocker says, I'm just a parrot bro, lol. I spent 3 years watching their videos, beat the hell out of Thunderbolt's project. Hey, I've done the same thing, but I gotta say it makes a heck of a lot more sense than regurgitating quantum mechanics or relativity shit at parties. I used to feel like such an idiot because I felt like I was saying something, but I really had no idea what I was talking about. And when you talk about electric universe, it's like, even if, you know, saying things like plasmoids or whatever, liquid metallic hydrogen sun or any of the crystal lattice structure, what I can tell you is that, like, the geometry is something that's simple enough for any person to look at and grasp. It's like art. Everybody can really take a look at it and kind of put one thing next to the other and say, wow, this looks more like that than the other. So I feel like looking at hexagonal craters or, you know, just features on surfaces of planets or comets. When Thunderbolt's project put up like the comet 67P with like the plasma discharge, like the fountains, which were called geysers. And you're like, wait, are these really sublimating snowballs, or are these really like filamentary plasma coming off dusty rocks that are electrified? I mean, that's fucking amazing, you know, like I never even considered something like that. So really putting it side by side, using whatever evidence you got to make a point. But then what's crazy is no one was really doing it, or is really still even doing it with the moon, which is just so easy to see and assess from a perspective of geology and science, that it's just like so under talked about. And it's not under talked about in a mythological story way. It's under talked about in a scientific and important, like, discovery way. It's always like, here's a flag pin, we went to the moon, shut up. Versus, like, what do we really find? What can we do? Look at this. Vallis Alpus, one of my favorite features. I say that all the time, but at least 20 things on the moon are my favorite features. And I'll finish another point about feeling like stupid or regurgitating stuff, you know. All it really takes is having a sense of a little bit of everything. And then when you come across something, using all those little pieces to kind of formulate a critical thought about that thing that you see. And the more you practice that, and the more you learn more things, the more you can apply that technique with more of those little pieces to critically think even more. And over time, you could actually figure out larger concepts when you critically think about small pieces, and you create larger forms and larger stories, and then you can kind of give yourself a story of the world, versus take a story from Marvel or, you know, even Flat Earth essentially is like an Eric Dubé story or a Jeranism story, or and whatever Concave Earth is this story. You know, write your own story is my suggestion, which is you know, like, I definitely talk about electric universe from what I learn, but then this moon thing, doing it myself, makes me get a much better sense of space itself directly, you know. And that's really what's changed it for me, is like, oh shit, I can actually go out there and do things. Instead of being an archaeologist in the field, I can actually do archaeology from here, which is just remarkable. I didn't think you could really do something like that. So everybody has their power that they can discover and make a difference. Archimedes crater. Let me put on some music too. So to the right of Valles Alpes, that was Cassini crater, with the two little craterlets inside. Yeah, Electric Universe is one of those things that it was the first time I'd ever seen videos that weren't, it wasn't like, they are a little bit preachy, that's for sure, but they also had this not lecturing you. It was just like, here's the stuff that we're talking about, take it or leave it. And it was the only time, really, it's one of the few channels on YouTube that's like that. Even still, after all these years, they still maintain that level of humility and persistence and calmness, and you know, they do call out people sometimes, but it's always very calm and very, very polite. It's funny. All right, let's keep moving around the moon. Archimedes, Autolycus, actually, and Aristillus right here. Look at this very cool, I want to say to the left is Aristillus, but I'm going to double check that. Love it, love it. So to the left is Aristillus, to the right is Autolycus, Lycus. And Aristillus' center kind of triangular formation is very rarely seen because you need to be this clear, actually. It needs to be very clear, so that's a very cool feature. What's up, Fresh75 says, I saw a so-called meteor pass me very close. It tripped me out because the trail was emerald green. So if you check out Astronomy live stream, David's channel, he films the sky with a very high-powered cam, the A7R2, I think, or A7S2, and he gets all those green iridium flare satellites disintegrating in the atmosphere. So that's a common thing. It's not unexceptional, it's definitely very cool. I've seen a couple, but I've never captured one. So I think a lot of those are satellites, and just them combusting turns green. Could be meteors as well. It almost has like little, they're almost hollow tubes, this centerpiece. All right, so Aristillus is great. Let's check out Cassini crater. Like I was saying earlier, this has very interesting features. It feels like the floor is a bit elevated, and you have almost like a staircase structure. Actually, here, let me set this up a bit better. For reference, we're right here. This is the Apennine mountain range to the right and the Alpine mountain range to the left. Really incredible detail, if I may say so. Yes, you may say so. I'm giving you permission. Look at this, crazy, crazy. It's really the clarity. I mean, if you have good glass, like a well-made telescope, if the sky is dark enough and the moon is clear, you can see it's just astounding every time. let's take a look at those cool, like the chicken foot and Plato, and so that's Mons Recti and Montes Tenerife. Shockwave is saying bubbles is probably the staircase structure, and this, yeah, I think about it a lot. Definitely bubbles and boils and blisters. Makes a lot of sense. Here, let's look at Plato crater. This is fascinating. Shockwave, throw your takedown on Plato crater right here. And center it. It's again, it also has that chipped wall to the bottom left corner. And this one actually, you see at the bottom left, it actually has straighter walls with corners, but it does have more of an oval shape than the others that we were looking at, like Ptolemaeus, of course, and Copernicus. Situated near the, to the north is Mare Frigoris, to the south is Mare Imbrium, and you can see this very cool chicken claw, or whatever, the raptor claw formation, Montes Tenerife. And here's our little word, which is looking very clear tonight. Calaxian crystal, that's what it says. Cacophony. Wow, look at Plato crater, looks amazing. It is 2:21. I'm getting a little sleepy, so I'm gonna start saying things that are more goofy. Forgive me, y'all. I'm just appreciating the view with everyone. I'm just gonna keep moving through. So Plato crater. We'll check out Sinus Iridum next, the Bay of Rainbows, where the Chinese rover is supposed to have landed. Chang'e 3. It's China's best simulation to date. They really did a great job in Photoshop sending this rover to the moon. And so it also might be there, right here in the center of your screen. Alright, let's keep moving. Alright, where haven't we checked out? So it's all looking really nice. Copernicus again, while it's clear. Hexagonal layered structure emanating from the center, and this definitely has those central peaks. It also has some of that really interesting kind of almost like a trail of sputtering. It's not really a sinuous rill, it's called ejecta in pop sci, but this actually looks like almost like little bubble strands, kind of like soap in a way, but frozen in time. Enough little bugs. Man, bugs are so annoying sometimes. Like, I don't want to kill them, but they gotta go. truth be told, why don't I use John Leonard Watson's, or Walson, right? DSLR hack trick to get close. He uses magic lantern. Because honestly, like, I don't know if you want to put my footage side by side with his, but I think mine is more clear. It's always bothered me how he just hacks that. I know that it's just like, I'm so cool, I figured out something nobody's ever done, but it's also like, I don't know, it has that lone wolf mentality of like, screw everybody. I feel like, yeah, I kind of just like keeping the image, I don't know, consistent, to be honest. The magic lantern stuff makes you have to do interesting things that really creates massive distortions at the edge of the image, and you also have to kind of move your finger around to keep the thing adjusted correctly for different lenses. It's kind of a pain in the ass, I'll be honest, but all power to people who do what they do. Also, this is not a DSLR, that's the other thing. It's a mirrorless camera and I don't want to like hack anything. So I've just left it as is, but I don't know, all the videos that I've seen have that kind of massive distortion at the edge. Am I wrong about that? Is it super clear? Because the stuff that I've seen just always seems like it's not really as clear as it could be. Like the magnification is there, but I don't think the consistency in terms of the frame rate or in terms of the orthographic projection of the image itself is correct. Anyway, not trying to get into a thing about that. Right now I don't have a DSLR, not gonna hack it, so I hope you can enjoy the view that we've got. Let's take a look at the Apennine mountain range, because this is looking awesome. We'll start at Eratosthenes with its little triangular central peaks. This is the one that I used to see on lower powered telescopes and think, oh my god, that's the TR3B landed in the center of a crater. But of course it's not. It's definitely made out of the same thing as the regolith, so it's probably some sort of rock, lunar mountain, and it certainly can't take off, and it certainly isn't the size that a TR3B would be. It would be so much smaller and impossible to see. And so this kicks off the mountain range that we'll move up towards. I'll zoom out one layer. There's a tiny bit of distortion in these images, but that's due to the telescope edges. I'm viewing through a window, and so you'll get a little bit of the light, and it'll kind of show the fact that you're getting chromatic and orthographic distortion. But it's really like 2-3% when I adjust it in Premiere. My issue with doing the DSLR doesn't, like you can imagine that I'm running an A65, which is 4K at 60 FPS. The data that I'm getting is way more powerful than anything I would get on a Canon 7D. 7D, even 2 or 3, they're like $1,600 or more, and they're super duper heavy. Getting it modded means it's screwed forever if you do it wrong. and then Magic Lantern running that through OBS doesn't really work correctly. So that's my take on that. Yo, what's going on, Les Brooklyn? How's it going? Also, anyway, John Leonard Wilson should have his own thing. I don't need to copy him. Okay, we're checking out the Apennine mountain range, which is freaking incredible, and it has really great, I don't even know what to call these things. They're kind of like cuts. I want to say they're cuts. They're like somebody went to town with an X-Acto blade across the surface of the moon, and you can see them in great detail tonight, like they're not sinuous rills, you know what I mean? It looks like they just either formed in these kind of very sharp defined parallel lines, or they were formed and then something cut across them, like creating these very sharp cuts. And then moving north to south, you have sinuous rails to the left. And this is approaching, on the left side you have Mare Imbrium, and on the right side is Sea of Serenity. Starlight says, wait a fucking minute, you're inside your house. I am indeed. When I do the 8-inch scope, that's outside on the back porch, but when I do this is inside on my front porch where I can sit, basically inside a little deck. It's not inside, but it's enclosed. Truth Be Told says, yeah, atmosphere sucks, can't avoid that. Yeah, it's something, especially in urban, in Tampa, you can't really avoid that stuff. In dark skies, it would be unbelievable, I think, really. I don't know if you heard me earlier, but like right now I have the camera direct to scope, and I've done this for a long time, and I feel like the least amount of glass possible is what you want to achieve for getting the most clarity in your shot. So I tend to even just avoid using 2x's and 3x's anymore, even though it's kind of tempting, because you do get the magnification, but what happens is you basically lose a ton of resolution from the glass trying to achieve the light that it needs, right? And so you get the gain really ruins the image. This is what's awesome here, is that you can see look at the settings on the camera, right? It's like ISO 640, and I got 1/60, so it's running at a 60th of a second, and the signal to noise is super duper low. And I think what people typically do wrong is I think when people zoom in too far, it's really tempting to kind of push the levels up, but you get a ton of noise distortion, grain, and that ruins the detail. And so here, if you see like 640 ISO is like just right there where you're not getting so much grain that you can see fine detail, and the eye does the rest, I feel. Same thing with like dust bunnies or like little specks on the lens. If you add glass or like more magnification, those tend to pop out more, and it's like a real pain in the ass to get a sense of clarity. So that's a little bit about why I don't mess with the whole setup much. Truth be told, if you're new, I kind of, erosion could be part of it, but we also think, I sometimes, not sometimes, I very often consider this new possibility of electric arcing between planets and moons, creating a lot of these features. So maybe instead of erosion over a long period of time, you had very high intense arcing between planets and caused these features to happen in a much quicker time frame. So it could be possible, and it actually changes a lot about the implications of our place in the solar system, in the age of Earth and the Moon. Alright, I think I need to get up and stretch a little bit. I've been getting a little too melted in the chair, but I'm going to take a quick look at Tico and leave it here for a second, because man, it's looking sharp. Alright, quick little break for me, back in a couple. fantasy. I'm going another 30 minutes, y'all, so back in a couple, gonna grab a new drink. Alright, I'm back on the microphone. So the moon is getting higher and higher. Seems like the chat room is too. Turned out to be an awesome night of viewing. So great. It was hairy there for a second with the clouds. This said it was instrumental, but I guess it's not. Alright, we'll play this back from the top. Syncopated television from the old school days. So looking at Ptolemaeus and Alphonsus. And the one to the right is Mueller and Hipparchus. Oh, no, that's Albategnius. Albategnius. That's a great one. I'm going to put labels here and shut up for a second while this track plays.
Find its way until the hot dry stone. You understand? Bring the wine, tell it the time until the twilight's are gone. You're well fed. Just with fight fools, just with bug cool checks. They don't mind secretly towards their phone lips. Gonna run away, real wild, separate well. Sin wild, well. Gonna get the walls, it's a big old trash. Gonna get the wall, it's a punk. Get it, good, get it, good, get it, good, get it, good, get it. Dinner islands, the night is on. Find its way until the hot dog's done. It's fine, finger wine until the time, until the twilight's are gone. You're well, said you're well, said fight fool. There's just with love the cool chicks. Do not mind, plug it into Wednesday moments. Gonna fail, real wild, till well, said why real wise, still well, till I come this get it good, get it, get it, get it, get it good, get it good, get it good, get it good, get it.
So a little bit of the context here, since Truth Be Told is asking that. Sully says, truth, that is the biggest question in EU, which is, how are electrical arcs formed between large bodies like the moon, Mars, Earth, etc.? But I mean, I think for me it was simple because we have the aurora, right? Like, what are the aurora? That's intense electrical activity that is visible to the naked eye. It moves, and so I can just imagine that being amplified by 100, and then you have, and we see lightning bolts constantly. So where's that being generated from, right? So I feel like there has to be some sort of mechanism that does generate this. It's not a simple answer, but the means by which they're created, like lightning bolts, exist, are the things that we see constantly. And so I think couple that with the fact that you have these features you see in front of you, these kind of craters that are side by side, that you have very distinct geometry to. These things look like crystals. They look like lattice growth. They don't really look like something slammed into the moon and created like an impact crater. At least that's not the way it looks to me. And apparently, I don't think I discovered it. Of course, I saw it on Thunderbolt's project, but you realize that Thunderbolt's is just referencing other papers. Velikovsky was talking about it. Ralph Jurgens was talking about it. Back in the 1700s and 1800s, they were speculating about electrostatic activity on the moon due to the transient lunar phenomenon, where Aristarchus and Kepler and Proclus, all these things are glowing on the moon, and at least 200-300 years ago they've been checking that out. So I think lightning bolts, and you also have aurora. So I feel like those are two interactions, I guess, and those, how are those caused? Are those caused by solar radiation entering the Earth at the poles? So if that's the case, then why wouldn't you have, maybe it's the sun, that created these interactions. Maybe it was Saturn. Maybe it was Venus as a comet being highly electrically charged and coming close enough to Earth to create catastrophe. I mean, it doesn't have to be close, like 10,000 kilometers. I'm talking about or at least the theory is in, the millions of miles. But that would be close enough to cause interactions. Sully's girl says, what powers the Birkeland currents, the plasmoid, etc.? Where does this start the plug-in, so to speak? Well, it would seem that we're inside, that we're part of an electrical conscious ether. That's kind of the question, is who's the creator in a way? Or what's the underlying dynamic? I think, you kind of have to approach it in steps. So for a long time we had no concept, or at least it's been dark matter for so long. Now it's a state of looking at it and being like, no, is this stuff that we can understand? And then I think the next step beyond that is actually when all minds start working together on a problem, then new solutions arrive. Right now it would be very impossible to say one way or another where it comes from. So, Truth Be Told says, if this is true, the moon is close, why no arcing now? So, it probably has stabilized, is the theory, to some degree. So Velikovsky says that, 7,000 years ago there was a disruption. Things tend to want to settle back into a type of orbit or into a type of stable system. When you look at the Sapphire Project, or you look at electric discharge in a laboratory, electricity and thereby fields and magnetism want to cohere in terms of what we see as matter. And I feel like coherence or patterns is the norm. And I guess then the interaction between the moon and Earth, I don't think is dead. I think it's just in dark mode. So the electrical arcing between the moon and Earth is just stabilized to the point, so there is plasma between the moon and Earth. And what's happening is that, that's how the moon essentially is locked tidally to Earth. It's through electricity. It's not, what is gravity, right? Or what are, or what are particles, what are waves? All of this stuff is intrinsically electricity. So between us and the moon right now, there are electrical Birkeland currents that are just in a different state. They're not arcing and they're not in glow mode. But that's at least how I understand it. So even between every single one of you guys and gals, between every single one of the filaments on your head to every star, there must be some sort of tiny, Birkeland current that goes back and forth, that has a correlating vector or of some sort. And it's great to think about it that way, because that means things like telepathy and telekinesis and the morphogenic field, what people think is astral traveling, outer body experiences, life after death, faster than speed of light travel, no limits to light, no speed of light at all, the history of the universe. These are much larger questions that are instantly made much more fun and exciting and resuscitated from the clutches of people like the pop scientist entertainers. It's really just, you watch those guys and it's very bleak. It's very bleak to listen to Brian Greene or Neil deGrasse Tyson. These guys are just basically talking about theoretical concepts constantly and nothing really physically correct, or at least nothing physically observable. Who am I to say whether it's correct or not? But I don't see any of these guys picking up a telescope, binoculars, microscope, growing crystals in a laboratory, doing any sort of real experimentation with light. I never see Michio Kaku talk about the Michelson-Morley experiment or, debating the two sides to that. There's so many different theories. Anyway, this is a good time to shout out my description with a bunch of Electric Universe and Plasma Cosmology people in it. I don't know if they know that I'm shouting them out every show, but it's all good. Go give them a like or watch their videos if you are interested. Thunderbolts Project, Electro TerraVision, Greg J, Electric Universe Eyes, The Electric View, Chronos, See the Pattern, Suspicious Observers, Sky Scholar, and Billy Elverton and others. Go give them some love, and let's keep looking at the moon, the dinosaur bone mountains. Sully's girl says, yeah, dark mode now. I think so. I think that makes more sense to me. This idea they even call it dark matter, but really it's just that it's not invisible, empty stuff. It's actually charged particles, or it's charged interaction, right? The system, the powers that be want to quantify things. It's the cult of atomism. They want to get things down to a particle or a wave. But really, it's just that we're inside. We are part and inside of what seems to be a conscious electrical ether fish tank of sorts. We might be on a desk somewhere, on somebody's computer desk, inside a, like Rick and Morty, like in a quantum vacuum reality, micro quantum vacuum. But at the same time, this whole universe could be inside our minds, and we're projecting it outwards. So I always leave room for that. Happy filaments to you, exactly, to all of y'all. Truth Be Told says, can we prove any of this? I enjoy the theory, but these guys know that they don't have all the pieces and there are issues. I think maybe, truth be told, if you don't mind me saying, I think you're coming at it from more of like I don't want to say it's cynical, but I think it's more like you're questioning a lot, and that's good, but we have a lot to go on, like right now. I mean, when could amateur astronomers get online and show the moon in this great detail? So like you can start doing lunar geology right now if you wanted to. You could be like, all right, I want to prove that this structure on the moon is like a building, or it's not a building, or this structure on the moon was formed by electricity or water or volcanism. I think approaching it that way versus like trying to find holes in electric universe, or any theory for that matter. Like, I'm not trying to defend it either, because I don't think Thunderbolts Project has every answer, nor do they talk about every topic that I'd want them to talk about in detail, nor do they release as many videos as they could, nor do they do live streams, any number of things. So it's not be-all, end-all science, but impact, this idea that the moon is 4.5 billion years old, and that the Earth has been the same way for the longest period of time, and the moon's been the same way for the longest period of time, and they all got impacted by massive heavy bombardment periods that smashed and destroyed it. And then we look at this and it's like carved out like like monuments across the surface. Every single way you look on the moon, it looks like somebody took a laser cutter and created features. So I think it's much more fun, more interesting, more exciting to speculate about other ways the moon could have been formed, as opposed to being like, well, that's settled science, it's all done here, nothing to see here. It's the Officer Bar Brady. Nothing to see here, move along. That's how people talk in pop sci today. It's like, you're an idiot, why are you questioning? It's already been solved, we've already been to the moon, shut up, you're an idiot, shut up. And it's so boring. It's like the most unbelievably boring way to be. And I have no time for that type of behavior of like, let's just be done with this. No, every single feature on the moon is incredibly amazing. And then you look at Saturn or Jupiter or any of the other, or stars, and it just, the list is endless. The research ability is endless. Yeah, that's a little take on that. Also, plasma is in a laboratory. If you see plasma discharge in a laboratory, you can see the craters, you can see the sinuous rails. If you have electrical vibration on a plate of cymatics, or you can see like rice or salt, you can see cymatics patterns, so you get fractals from electric vibration. Same thing with dunes. So electricity in a laboratory has been shown to actually work. So it's not just speculative. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of questions, but there are also a lot of good answers. Alright, looking for a track here. Rolling into 3 a.m., but the view is awesome, so I'm going to go a little bit longer. Almost done here, everybody. I could stream forever, but sometimes a little dose is good. Yo, peace out, truth be told. Thanks for hanging out here. The labs don't replicate space. They don't, but you know, like we are basically in space in some form. I think it's a very common thing to forget how much a part of it humans are. We're not really separate from the Earth. I feel like the Earth peoples, like Alan Watts says, it's great. The Earth produces us as like fruit on a tree. Alright, I'm going to switch to the wide shot here. Let this track play out for a bit. Alright, everybody. I think it's time for me to hit the hay, hit the sack, hit the bed, hit the floor, all of it. It's been a fun show. Rolling into 2 hours. It's perfect. Ellie Wynn, hope you have a great birthday. Continued. Sully's Girl, thanks so much for hanging out. Truth Be Told, same thing. Starlight Spectrum, enjoy the bath and the moon. Also appreciate your presence. Brenton Imes. This says Neil deGrasse Tyson became my spirit guide on 5 hits of LSD. It's pretty funny. Who else we got? Everybody hanging out. There's lots of people in the chat, man. But I'm losing the view. The windowsill is what's at the top, and you can kind of see all the junk on the lens because of the windowsill creating that. A couple more tracks. I'm drifted out right here. Let it go. Eating shredded cheese fractals. And everybody else who hung out tonight, Fresh 75 and Shockwave and 24/7 and Lost Brooklyn. I know Genghis Khan was here earlier. Let me know if I missed you. Duplicat, thumbs up. Appreciate it. Fantasy Ecstasy, I appreciate that. I'll try and catch you all tomorrow if it's clear for some more, what is it? Today was like 60%, so tomorrow will be the last quarter. Yeah, this is the ride off into the starlight. Ride off. Starlight. Moonlight. Sunlight. Tattoo. Let's get out of here. So I have to write some lyrics to this, but it's gonna be fun. Again, if you want to support the channel, quick reminder, go to Bandcamp. I'll drop that link in here and just listen to the tunes or recommend them to somebody and or just enjoy them. (921 Virgo), I appreciate that. Tom, I appreciate that. Alright, everybody, have a great night, have a great day tomorrow. I'll catch you soon. Be kind, be wise, but above all, be kind, because we need some of that. We need some love. Alright, I'm out.